Most beginner woodworking projects fail before the first cut even happens. Not because people are lazy, not because they are not creative, and definitely not because they are not capable. Most people quit woodworking because they get overwhelmed before they ever build something they are proud of. They watch advanced tutorials with expensive tools. They hear conflicting advice. They waste wood on bad measurements. Then they start thinking woodworking is harder than it actually is. But here is the truth. Beginner woodworking becomes a whole lot easier when you stop trying to do everything perfectly and start following a simple system that actually makes sense. And today, I want to show you exactly how to make woodworking feel manageable from the very beginning. Because you do not need a massive workshop. You do not need $10,000 worth of tools. And you definitely do not need years of experience before building something useful. You just need a clear process that helps you avoid the mistakes that frustrate most beginners. By the end of this video, you are going to understand how to start woodworking the smart way, what tools actually matter, how to avoid wasting wood, and why simple woodworking plans make such a huge difference when you are learning. And if you want exact measurements, layouts, and beginner-friendly project plans that remove all the guesswork, I linked Ted's woodworking plans below. It makes the entire process a lot easier when you are starting out. One of the biggest problems beginners run into is trying to learn woodworking from random disconnected videos online. One video tells you pocket holes are amazing. Another says pocket holes are terrible. One person says you need expensive hardwood. Another says use cheap construction lumber. Then somebody else shows a workshop that looks like a professional furniture factory. And suddenly woodworking feels impossible. That confusion stops more beginners than lack of skill ever will. And honestly, most beginners are trying to learn 10 different woodworking skills all at once. Cutting, measuring, sanding, joinery, finishing, tool setup, wood selection. That is a lot to absorb at the beginning, which is why the smartest thing you can do is simplify the process. Start with small projects, use simple joinery, focus on consistency instead of perfection, and follow plans that already solve the complicated parts for you. That alone can save you from wasting hours of frustration. One mistake beginners make constantly is obsessing over perfect measurements. Now obviously, measurements matter, but repeatability matters even more. If 4 pieces are supposed to match each other, it is more important that they are consistently the same than mathematically perfect to the thousandth of an inch. That realization alone removes a huge amount of pressure, because woodworking is not aerospace engineering. Tiny imperfections are normal. Most people will never notice them. And honestly, some imperfections give handmade projects character. The problem is beginners think every project has to look machine perfect immediately. That mindset creates hesitation. It creates fear of messing up. And then people never actually build anything. The fastest way to improve at woodworking is not watching more tutorials. It is building projects consistently. Even simple ones, a storage box, a small bench, floating shelves, a cutting board, a planter box. Those projects teach real skills without overwhelming you. And this is where woodworking plans become extremely helpful for beginners. Instead of trying to design everything from scratch, you can focus on learning the actual building process. That means less guessing, less wasted wood, and fewer moments where you realize halfway through a project that something does not line up correctly. Ted's woodworking plans are especially useful for this because they give step-by-step layouts for a huge range of beginner-friendly builds. That structure makes woodworking feel much less intimidating. Another thing beginners struggle with is tools. A lot of people think woodworking requires an enormous investment. It really does not. You can build a surprising number of projects with just a few core tools. A circular saw, a drill, a sander, a measuring tape, a few clamps. That alone can get you started. Now eventually, yes, better tools make things easier. But beginners often use lack of tools as a reason not to begin, and that mindset becomes a trap. Because the reality is most experienced woodworkers built their tool collection slowly over time. They did not buy everything at once, then bought tools as new needs came up. That is the smart way to do it. One thing that frustrates beginners more than almost anything else is bad wood. And honestly, nobody really explains this clearly when you first start. Construction lumber from big box stores is affordable, but it is often warped, wet, twisted, or filled with knots. That makes building harder, especially for beginners. Now you absolutely can build with construction lumber, but understanding its limitations matters. Sometimes spending slightly more on straighter wood saves enormous frustration later, because beginners often blame themselves for problems caused by poor material. The wood twists, boards do not line up, cuts feel inconsistent. Then they assume they are doing something wrong. Sometimes the material itself is the problem. That is why good plans matter so much. They help beginners understand material choices before wasting money and time. Another huge beginner mistake is rushing. People want instant results, so they skip sanding, they ignore preparation, they rush finishing, and then the final project does not look good. Even if the construction itself was solid, finishing is one of the most important parts of woodworking. A simple project with a clean finish often looks far better than a complicated project with poor finishing. Take your time sanding, break sharp edges, apply thin finish coats, let things dry properly. That patience changes everything. And honestly, beginners should focus more on building confidence than building perfection. Because woodworking gets dramatically easier once you complete a few successful projects. The confidence starts stacking. You stop second-guessing every step. You stop panicking over small mistakes. And suddenly projects that once looked impossible start feeling manageable. That is why structured project plans help so much. Instead of constantly wondering what comes next, you can focus on actually learning the craft. That removes a massive amount of mental pressure. And the funny thing is, once beginners stop overthinking everything, their projects usually improve very quickly. Another important thing beginners overlook is workflow. The order you do things matters. For example, sanding pieces before assembly is often much easier than trying to sand tight corners later. Planning ahead prevents frustration. The same goes for cutting extra material. Experienced woodworkers expect mistakes sometimes, so they prepare for them. Beginners often buy the exact amount of wood needed. Then one bad cut ruins the entire project. Having extra material removes stress, and stress causes mistakes. That is something almost every beginner experiences. The more nervous and rushed you become, the worse your decisions can get. That is why simple projects are so powerful early on. They let you build momentum without feeling overwhelmed. And honestly, woodworking should feel enjoyable, not stressful, not intimidating, not impossible. You are learning a skill that takes time. Nobody masters it immediately. Every experienced woodworker has made ugly projects. Every one of us has wasted wood. Every one of us has measured wrong. That is normal. The difference is, we kept building anyway. And the people who improve the fastest are usually the people willing to keep learning through mistakes. Another reason why plans are so useful for beginners. They reduce the number of avoidable mistakes so you can focus on improving instead of constantly recovering from disasters. That saves money, it saves time. And honestly, it keeps woodworking fun, because nothing kills motivation faster than ruining expensive material halfway through a build. Ted's woodworking plans are here to help simplify that process by giving you clear layouts, dimensions, and project guidance before you even start cutting. This kind of structure can make a huge difference when you are still learning. Now here is something important most people never say out loud. Your projects do not need to be perfect to be valuable. That shelf you build slightly crooked, still useful. That storage bench with tiny gaps, still impressive. That coffee table with minor imperfections, still something you created with your own hands. And that feeling never really gets old. There is something deeply satisfying about building something real, something functional, something that did not exist before you made it. That is why so many people fall in love with woodworking once they stop putting impossible pressure on themselves. You do not need perfection. You need progress. That is what matters. And once you build your first successful project, woodworking starts feeling far less intimidating. Suddenly you realize, wow, I can actually do this. I can learn these skills. I can build useful things. Maybe now you can build those birdhouses and bird feeders your partner keeps asking for. And you know, the more structure you give yourself early on, the easier the journey becomes. So if you are just getting started, keep things simple. Always remember to stay safe whenever using power tools. Start small. Use beginner-friendly projects. Focus on consistency instead of perfection. And do not be afraid to use woodworking plans that make the process easier and less frustrating. If you want step-by-step woodworking projects with exact measurements and layouts designed to help beginners avoid costly mistakes, check out Ted's woodworking plans in the description below. It is one of the easiest ways to make woodworking feel less overwhelming and more achievable when you are starting out. And most importantly, just start building.